So we're talking about the whole sort of like being a, in quotes, housewife, and how difficult that has potentially been in terms of like right now, especially people working from home. On my perspective, I was brought up where the roles were switched. So my dad was the stay-at-home person. Honestly, he wasn't that great at housework, but he would make sure that I was looked after, the house was in order, and my mum was the one that was working 60-hour weeks. So for me, being at home and working is separate of cleaning. And it's something that, for me personally, I've had to reframe and think, no, you're not expected to do, the housework, the cleaning, the cooking, the washing up, and then also the 8-hour day.
Yes.
Whereas even a year, 2 years ago, I would have felt really bad if I hadn't done something that was in relation to cleaning the house whilst I was at home, because a certain person had said to me, well, why haven't you done the housework? You've been at home all day. And it's tricky.
It is tricky. And I mean, going back to, when I was working full time from home, whilst my husband is such that, there is no separating line to female work and male work in his opinion. But if I had been working, doing a full hard day, things like the dishwasher having not been run, or putting my dishes on the side because I haven't emptied the dishwasher, that sort of thing, that I would do because I'm separating business from cleaning and cooking and everything else. And then what I would find was, as he walked in through the door, almost immediately he would open the dishwasher and start emptying it. Now, whether he was frustrated with me not having done those domestic duties or not, but the guilt that I would put on myself, because I would be thinking that he thinks that I haven't done my job.
Whereas he might just be used to doing that as a routine of coming home because Elaine's been working hard all day. I'm going to empty the dishwasher.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to help.
Yeah.
So I do wonder whether or not, with so many people now working from home, how that balance is happening between work and the domestic chores and such like. Is it falling on both parties equally, or is there still that feminine, that it's a feminine role to do the cooking and cleaning? Because I think we take it on ourselves because we've seen that from our parents and our grandparents, so we take it on ourselves as women. But is that being perpetuated by men? And or not perpetuated, but enabled by men, because the women tend to do it.
And I find in my own situations is I tend to do it without ask or request to have help. And in fact, I don't wish to ask for help because I feel like by no problem of someone else or by no on-putting of somebody else that I am meant to do this. Like,
that's a big one.
Like, no one has told me, no one has ever told me that as a female I'm meant to do that. And yet I feel, like you were saying, guilt if I haven't emptied the dishwasher, or if I haven't put the washing away, or things like that. Especially seeing as I've always worked from home, I have always felt like I have that luxury of something that quite a lot of people don't seem to have, even though they're told you have an hour lunch break. They don't have that hour lunch break. Whereas I do have the ability to get up and go and put on the lunch, and whilst the lunch is cooking, I could do something domestic. And it's interesting to hear that when I was speaking with a couple of ladies who have like several children, they used to have a person that was looking after the cleaning of the house because they had full-time work, full-time mothering, their husbands were full-time, they would have someone to clean the house, and because of lockdown they weren't able to.
Now they have to homeschool the kids.
Yep, and do a full-time job. How stressed they are that their house isn't in a certain way, and they feel like they've added that to their workload. And it does seem to be something that we just inherently put on ourselves. That, I mean, who's coming over? Who's going to see?
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So, absolutely. Who's going to see if I've hoovered or not? Like, you don't know if I've hoovered for 2 days or not. But we
That's true. But we're not going to go there anyway, because you don't know whether I have or not. Yeah, it is. And as we were saying earlier, or as I was saying earlier, now that I'm not working, I feel that it's my role, rightly or wrongly, but I do feel that it's my role to upend my part of the bargain by doing the domestic chores and such like, because Paul is working, and he's working from home, but he's working full time, so he's the one that's earning the money. So I'm in the position where I'm doing the domestic, and I've had to spend a lot of time reframing that, because it's like, oh, you're only a housewife. That word only. And I get up in the morning, I do my Zoom calls and what have you, and then, what part of the house am I going to clean today? Right, it's now 11 o'clock, so I make a cup of coffee and I have a biscuit and give my husband his mid-morning sustenance, and then I make sure that I've got the lunch on, and then I do the food order, and I do this and I do that. And I've had to completely reframe what I do, in so far as a lot of the things that I do, I framed as chores, as things that have to be done. And so when you go into the mindset of it's something that I have to do, rather than it's something that I want to do, then it has a completely different meaning. And I've had to spend quite a bit of time reframing the fact that, trying to think of what we're going to have for lunch every single day is me actually showing love to my husband. It's me actually showing him that what he's doing, I really value, and I'm trying to do something to make his life a little bit better. And it's taken a while, and I still smart at it every once in a while, oh my God, it's me that's, having to do this again. But I think that, again, I wonder how many people out there have that same similar view to doing that.
And especially if they have gone from, I'm working this many hours and the busybody life. And I think that's one thing that I've seen for a lot of people who were working such long hours and commuting for such long hours is, my goodness, I do actually have some time in the day to be with my kids or be with my loved one or work on a hobby. And on the flip side, what does that actually mean? Because a lot of us identify as our job role.
Oh, yes.
I know I do.
Yeah.
So for me, it's been really difficult because I've been hearing how productive some people are, or the number of banana loaves they've made. I didn't make a banana loaf. I barely made cookies. And that was right at the end of the year, and they weren't that good. So, I wonder if with this new, in quotes, identity, are people struggling even more with the whole thought of, now I've got, for some people, 4 or 5 hours of my day back that I'm not commuting. And what do I do with that? And oh gosh, that means I should probably have an immaculate house, or I should have knitted a rug by now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned reframing. As a little nonce like me, how do you go about like a reframe of mindset? What does that really mean?
I think doing the sort of thing that we're talking about, actually, turning it around and seeing where we get these values from, where we get, the thought that, we must be, wife, mother, perfect in every sense, which then puts pressure on you. And then you go back through that routine. And to reframe is to question your reaction. How I feel is to question my reaction to something. So feeling that, oh my goodness me, it's Thursday again, I've got to do my food order again, I'm the one that's making the decisions on this, why is it that it's only me, etc., etc., etc. That is a very, very negative thought process, because it means that the next time I go and do it, and the next time I'm going to do it, I'm going to feel even more resentful about it. So the reframe is, what is the benefit of doing this? What is the benefit of, to me personally, of making my husband his sandwiches? How do I feel grateful for the opportunity of that? I feel unbelievably grateful that we're in a position where my husband is working, that we don't have the worry of bills and mortgages, mainly because he is working and it's full-time occupation. So if I can feel really grateful for that, then what can I do to be able to help him in that role? And I know it's making me sound a little bit like a surrendered wife, and I don't feel like that.
You're too far from being a surrendered
but it does make me feel that by taking away some of the mundane from him having to think about, well, what food are we going to have? What about this? What about that? I'm actually helping him to be able to concentrate on his job. If he can concentrate on his job and feel good in his job and earn the money, that actually ultimately benefits me, because he's got some money in the bank and he might spend it on me when we can get out and do stuff. But it does mean that I can then take joy out of doing those little things, because I know that it has meaning for him. I mean, if he didn't feel grateful about it, if he wasn't expressing that thank you to me and that sort of thing, then it would be a different ball game entirely. But it is to be able to take a look at what we do habitually that isn't necessarily in our best interest, or isn't necessarily our best mindset, and see how we can look at things differently. From my ironing, I hate ironing. It's one of the things that
but clothing, like textiles, so I do not have to iron.
I'm in agreement with you, but I love ironed bed sheets. And you were saying that you were talking about women that had ladies that came in and helped them and everything else. Well, we don't have a cleaner anymore. I hate ironing, but I insist on ironing even the fitted sheets, which are a pig to do. And instead of going, oh my God, this is so awful, the reframe on it is to remember how it feels when I get into a freshly made, freshly ironed bed. So I actually take a bit of joy of making sure that it's all nice and fresh.
Definitely. That makes the entire day better. Like, if you begin to learn to reframe, like you're saying, reframe it so it's actually a more joyous thing in your mindset, imagine how much better your day will be if you just have oh great, I'm going to feel really lovely in these iron sheets, or fantastic, I get to make this sandwich, and you know what, I'd like that sandwich too, and we get to sit and eat together because we never used to be able to, and thanks to the savings of us making our own sandwiches and not going out and buying it, sorry economy, sorry Starbucks, then we are able to put away that saving, and then when we're allowed to go on holidays in the future, all of these things that you don't even think about when you're just going, oh, I've got to make a sandwich. Or put the stuff in the dishwasher. It's really interesting when you hear it from another alternate view, how much different your brain and your day will be. But also sometimes you get into that mindset and you go, oh yeah, no, I haven't reframed the brain today, or just feeling grumpy.
Yeah. And being grumpy is okay, providing it's not day in, day out. My mum jokingly says that I have a Pollyanna attitude. Well, it's not natural. It is natural now, but it wasn't natural. I spent a long time trying to see things differently rather than bemoan my lot because my life wasn't what I wanted. And I suddenly realized I was never going to get the life that I wanted if all I do is spend the time bemoaning the one that I've got. So it isn't easy. And there are days that, I do have to sit and inhale, but having trained myself to do that reframe, if I'm in that negative mindset, it becomes more and more automatic. And you can't be annoyed and upset if you are feeling grateful for where you're at. And I know for a lot of people, and that's why I give gratitude, that I feel that I'm in a very privileged position because of, as I say, poor working and everything else. But I know not everybody is there. And yet, how can I not give gratitude to it, allowing for the acceptance that everybody else might not be in the same place? We're living in strange times. And I think probably everybody in the world is having to reframe in some shape or form.
Yeah, kind of every single day you're having to reframe. It's with another new news story. You're having to go, okay, so what does that mean for me, my family, my day-to-day routine? It's been such a copious amount of change that I was thinking right at the beginning, last year, well, I've been practicing for lockdown for my whole life. I've always been working from home. I'll be fine. And I think a lot of people that are in my position, especially seeing as I've never been in the corporate world, I've never done that. I've always worked from home, that we thought we'd be okay. And then start feeling like, why am I feeling this like roller coaster of emotions? That's not normal. I should be fine mentally. And I am quite an extroverted introvert in terms of there are times when I do need other social interactions, but mostly I am very happy alone. And yet still someone of that sort of mindset, was still finding, by Tuesday, Wednesday of a working week, I was like, sometimes I just want to get into bed.
Yeah.
And I think it was after having a conversation with you where you were like, the whole world is feeling this way. We've all gone through a ridiculous amount of change. And also just because we may not have gone out, the fact that we can't go out is a very different mindset to be in.
Yes.
And again, I think it's the framing of, it's not that we can't, it's that we're saving other humans by not.
Yes.
And that's definitely something that I can definitely work on in terms of mindset, is not that, oh no, I'm not allowed to go and see my friends in the pub or on a walk. It's, I get to still see my friends in the future because we're not going to the pub or going on a walk.
Absolutely. And if we take today, I mean, we don't know what's happening tomorrow, next month, or whatever, but if we take today for what today is, we're here. We've survived 9 months of this already, 10 months of this already. And if we've survived 10 months of this, it means that we can continue to survive longer. For many people, it's been unbelievably challenging mentally. If you are, I know one person in particular that I'm thinking of who is an unbelievable extrovert. His whole reason for living is to get out, get to the clubs, to dance, to to do so much. And so his response to what's going on today is completely different from mine, because like you, I'm quite comfortable in my own skin, but he's already survived 10 months. So we will get through this. We will come out the other side, and because we've been through it, I'm hoping that we'll actually be much stronger as individuals, because we can look back on this time and say, we did this, we got through it. Hopefully with the with the vaccine that we've got today, with with the measures that we're doing, there are still going to be many, many more deaths, but hopefully far fewer than if we didn't have done that. And we can rest joyous in the knowledge that we did our bit. So again, it's about giving joy, as you say, to sitting in your house and giving joy to the fact that you can make that little bit of difference to the overall outcome. Wearing your masks, I'm making that little difference, because the mask might not necessarily stop me from catching it, but it will stop me from transmitting it as much. So let's give joy to that.
Yeah, and that the era of the empath.
Yes.
Most definitely the people who are most empathic have been the ones that have been most affected by this, in terms of mentally having to take on a lot of this, but also a lot more people are kind of tuning into the fact that humans need to be kind to one another.
Oh, yeah.
And although there have been certain instances of the minorities of, I'm not going to wear a mask, blah, 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 most people seemingly have become a lot more connected whilst we're not able to connect. And I think that's a massive sign of the human need, the human mindset, is that, yes, like you said, we can survive this, but also what can we get from this, that you should be connecting with one another, even if you can't see people face to face. We're in a time now where just pick up the phone or pick up the Zoom call and speak to someone, because you don't know how they're feeling, like during or after this.
Yes. Yeah. And again, how much joy can we give to that as well?
Yeah.
Spot on.
Oh.
It is. I'm hoping that we step out of this time with a very much more enhanced sense of community, an enhanced set of family, an enhanced set of coming together. And I hope that travels with humanity as humanity goes forward, because I think it has been lost over the last 30, 40 years. But I think with this calamitous time that we have, I think there is so much that we can gain.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Elaine.
No, thank you. Thank you.
A deep first recording to be done, I think, but I think one that I like. I think, I'm just going to pause the recording.
Check it all up. Let's see what we get, and let's throw Trumpism in at the same time, and let's throw this vaccine, and then COVID, and then Brexit, and then everything else. Let's throw it all in, and let's see what falls out at the end of it.
Snowflakes, then not like cursed with hornets.
Yes, yeah. It is. We live, as Confucius say, we live in mysterious times. But it definitely seems that the Earth is resetting. That's for sure. Somebody's gone Control Alt down on the Earth and restarted it.
Hovering over the delete button.
Exactly. You see this big red button here? Well, we've just pushed it. We're not quite sure what it does, but we think we're going to be okay. Oh Lord. Oh, I do love talking to you. I really do. I really. Yeah.
I feel like we should master rights at all times.
Yes. For a little duration of time at least.
Yeah.